Welcome to the Dr. Snow Brain Health Show. I'm Scott Alford, your host and brain enthusiast, and I welcome world-renowned PhD Neuropathologist and brain aging expert, Dr. Alan Snow. Today, we're going to dive into intermittent fasting and the science behind this phenomenon. And Dr. Snow, you seem to have a personal interest in this story as it's led you to lose 40 pounds in the last 2 years. And you'd like to share about your personal story and dive into the science behind intermittent fasting. So I'll hand it off to you.
You know, that's right, Scott. You know, when I was 18 years old, I was in amazing shape. And I actually wanted to be a professional tennis player. And I was actually on the Canadian national tennis team when I was 16 years old. And I played there until I was about 19. And at age 19, I got a tennis scholarship to attend Bowling Green State University in Ohio. I was playing tennis 3 to 4 hours a day when I was anywhere from 16 to about 22 years old. You know, and I only weighed about 185 pounds. You know, I was in great shape. I was skinny. And then I found out, well, I'm not good enough to be a tennis player. I actually got injured in college. And then in my late 20s, early 30s, I gained a bunch of weight. And I think I reached a high of about 240 pounds in my 40s. I'll show you some pictures about this. And then about, 4 years ago, I got into intermittent fasting. I started reading about it, and I started looking at how it could help you lose weight in a healthy manner. So I think it's going to be a good idea to dive into this. I'd like to get into the science first about intermittent fasting and then go into how I personally lost about 40 pounds in a 2-year period. And I'll actually show photos like before and after. You could markedly see the big difference. Actually, if you go to the Perceptive Brain website, you'll see where I have a video when I'm talking. I weigh about 240. And now I think I'm about 196. So I actually lost about 44 pounds.
That's amazing. But before going into the actual science of intermittent fasting, I'd love to hear what tipped you off? What were the first clues that basically starvation to some extent was actually good for your body?
You know, when I was researching brain aging and memory loss, talked about 2 different biotech companies that I founded. I remember reading important articles that if you restricted calories consumption, and these papers were coming out in rats and mice, and they would starve them, basically caloric restriction, you could actually make these animals live a longer life. And I'm going, wow, that's amazing. And, I'm going to include a few scientific articles that describe studies in which caloric restriction is actually incredibly good for prolonging life in humans and animals. And I'll put on a few papers that really back up my point.
Okay, so for those who are completely unfamiliar with fasting and specifically intermittent fasting, what is the definition of intermittent fasting?
So intermittent fasting is an eating plan that switches between fasting and eating on a regular schedule. So research studies show that intermittent fasting is a way to manage your weight and prevent or even reverse some forms of disease. But basically, how do you do it? Is it safe? Many diets focus on what we eat, this or eat that, protein, carbohydrates, all that kind of stuff. Intermittent fasting is all about when you eat. With intermittent fasting, you eat during a specific time, and research shows that fasting for a certain number of hours each day or eating just one meal a day every couple of days a week may have amazing health benefits. So there's a guy from Johns Hopkins, a neuroscientist known as Mark Mattson, and I actually personally know him through the Alzheimer's research community. He did a lot of work on Alzheimer's disease, and he's been studying intermittent fasting for about 25 years. And he says our bodies have evolved to be able to go without food for many hours or even several days or longer. And in prehistoric times, before humans learned to farm, there were hunters and gatherers who evolved to survive and thrive for prolonged periods of time without eating. They had to, basically. It took a lot of time and energy to hunt game. They had to gather nuts and berries. I mean, think about it. And experts know that even 50 years ago, it was easier to maintain a healthy weight in the United States. There were no computers. TV shows were turned off at 11 p.m. People stopped eating because they went to bed. Portions were much smaller. And most people worked and played outside and in general got more exercise. But when the internet came along and TV and other entertainment was available 24/7, many adults and children stay awake from longer hours to watch TV, scroll through their social media like I do, play games, chat online, and that could mean sitting and snacking all day and most of the night. Extra calories and less activity can mean a higher risk of obesity, type 2 diabetes, heart disease, and other illnesses. And scientific studies are starting to show that intermittent fasting may actually help reverse some of these trends.
So how does it do that? How does intermittent fasting work?
So there are several ways to do intermittent fasting. They're all based on choosing regular time periods to eat and fast. For instance, you might try eating only during an 8-hour period each day and fast for the remainder, or you might choose to eat only one meal a day, 2 days a week. So there's many different intermittent fasting schedules. And Mattson says that after hours without food, the body exhausts its sugar stores and starts burning fat. I think this is the key, is that by intermittent fasting, you get to the fat burning stage. And he refers to this as metabolic switching. So intermittent fasting contrasts, with the normal eating pattern for most Americans who eat throughout their waking hours. And Mattson says if someone is eating 3 meals a day plus snacks and they're not exercising, then every time they eat, they're running on basically the calories that they have in their body and they're not burning their fat stores. That's why they never lose weight. So intermittent fasting works by prolonging the period when your body has burned through the calories that consumed during your last meal and begins to burn fat. And that's the key.
So I'm curious if you could talk a little bit more about the science behind intermittent fasting and do a little bit of a deeper dive into what's happening in the body.
So let's get into the Mark Mattson book. He has a book that's really interesting. I'll bring it up. It's called The Intermittent Fasting Revolution: The Science of Optimizing Health and Enhancing Performance. This was published in April 2023. You can get it on Amazon. So he says that most of us eat 3 meals a day with a smattering of snacks because we think that's the normal, healthy way to eat. And his book shows why this is not the case. The human body and brain evolved to function well in environments where food can be obtained only intermittently. And when we actually look at the eating patterns of our distant ancestors, we can see that the intermittent fasting pattern is normal and eating 3 meals a day is not normal. So in this book, he talks about that intermittent fasting is not only normal, but it's also good for us. It can enhance our ability to cope with stress by making our cells more resilient. That's quite interesting, actually. It also improves mental and physical performance and helps protect against aging and disease. And intermittent fasting is not the latest fad diet. It doesn't dictate food choice or how much you should eat or not eat. It doesn't make money for the pharmaceutical industry, processed food, or healthcare industries. It's an eating pattern that includes frequent periods of time with little or negligible amounts of food. It's often accompanied by weight loss and also shows its remarkable beneficial effects cannot be accounted for by weight loss alone. So it's really thriving while fasting. It's become an evolutionary adaptation, and it slows aging, reduces the risk of diseases including obesity, Alzheimer's, diabetes, and it helps improve both brain and body performance. I actually feel so amazing that I started doing this for a couple of years, and I cranked up my metabolism, but I also feel good.
Yeah, no, that's great. That's fabulous.
So, I lost 40 pounds, and to lose weight and to feel great, there are a number of things that I brought into my life. I usually personally fast 4 days a week now, and the other 3 days I can eat usually what I want. Intermittent fasting will completely change your metabolism. I've completely cranked up my metabolism by implementing intermittent fasting into my life. It means in the past, if I even looked at pizza or French fries, I would gain a bunch of weight. Now I can eat all the foods I want on my days off. But you know what? On your days off, you tend to eat less because you get full faster, and your cravings for food, they go way down. So that's quite an interesting effect that it has on you.
So I'm going to put you on the spot and ask you to share your secrets. Like what is your routine for intermittent fasting?
So my own personal routine, I intermittent fast Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday of each week. I don't eat anything from around midnight till about 5 p.m. the next day. And I start late because, I'm a night owl and I go to bed about 1 or 2 a.m. every night. But I'm allowed to have caffeine and non-fat milk. So I do have 1 to 2 cups of coffee with non-fat milk every morning. I'm also allowed to drink all the water you want throughout the day. And I got to tell you, when I first started this routine, it was really hungry around 2 or 3 p.m. You remember going till about 5 p.m. without eating. But the more weeks you put into this, the better it'll get. When you come out of the fast, they also teach you how to eat as well. So you eat protein first, eggs, cheese, chicken, beef, and then about a half hour to an hour later, you have protein and carbs, and then some sort of meal like beef, steak, chicken with vegetables and brown rice. Have brown rice, not white rice. And so what happens is that your body's looking for fuel, but on a relatively empty stomach, the fuel is going to come from your fat cells. And guess what? When's the best time to work out and burn those fat cells? I work out around 4 to 5 p.m. when I'm on my last leg of starvation. And that's the best. You start burning fat cells. And what I end up doing personally is I do these beachbody.com workouts. And you could pay for like a year subscription, and you have great video workout courses. They take about an hour, 30 minutes to an hour, anywhere from like P90X with Tony Horton. I've done that over the years. P90X, P90X2, P90X3, P90. Lift 4, there's a guy called Joel Freeman. He uses HIIT, which is high intensity interval training, Lift More, and even Body Beast. In the last few months, I'm currently finishing a new hard 12-week course by Shaun T. Remember, he was the developer of Insanity and Hip Hop Abs workouts. This course I'm doing now is called Dig Deeper. It's tough as hell. Shaun T had to reinvent himself. He had shoulder surgery and then turned into a bodybuilder. He's now 45 years old and is in amazing shape. He has a 12-week course using weight training in 3 phases of 4 weeks each. And what I like about this course and any of these courses, you could do it at your home as long as you have different size weights, a mat. And in this one, I need a flat workout bench, which I also bought from beachbody.com. And so to recap, I fast 4 days a week. I try workout on one of the beachbody.com routines. Usually for the 4 days that I'm working out, I do these routines. Usually they're 8 to 12 weeks long at a time. And then in between courses, I usually take 1 week rest before I decide to pick up a new course for workouts. I also write everything down in a written journal. And if you watch some of my videos on the laws of attraction that we did, you'll notice that I write everything down using a 1-page per day journal and use blue ink on white paper. And this includes my whole workout schedule, like for 8 to 12 weeks. I have every day outlined what days I'm fasting or regular eating and what days I'm working out. And I try and accomplish this for each and every week during these courses. That's how I do it.
So how do you interact with your journal for these workouts?
So I keep the entire program with the workouts written on my daily journal, and it goes on for the entire 8 or 12 week course. And I give myself like 2 check marks each day, and I have it all outlined on white paper. So 1 check mark is for fasting. So I'm telling you, if you're fasting for the day, you deserve a check mark because that's tough to do. And then I have another check mark for completing the workout. So I write out the entire workouts for the week that I'm going to do. And if I can get 2 check marks a day, 1 for fasting, 1 for working out, then, that's what I'm looking for, 2 check marks a day. And I actually keep track how many check marks I have for each week. And I also play tennis one night each week, so I still do that. Lots of cardio workout. And in the spring, summer, I try and play golf on Sundays once a week. So they also count as workout days. And I usually tend not to do a weight workout that day. So I'm usually doing classic Beachbody weight workouts Monday, Tuesday, Wednesdays, and Fridays. I play tennis on Thursday night and then try and golf on the weekend on Sundays. And that's what I keep going through every week.
I admire your discipline. Keep at it. And it's worked, right? The last couple of years, you've lost 40 pounds using these routines.
And the thing is, you don't even feel tired. And that's exactly how I lost 40 pounds. And what I really like about this, I tried diets over the years, everything from Jenny Craig and Weight Watchers and the food you buy, and they tell you to eat 6 meals a day. I'm telling you, that doesn't change your metabolism. This actually will markedly speed up your metabolism. It's because you're getting into your fat stores. And so usually on my days off, like the weekend, I could usually eat whatever I want, like cheeseburgers, fries, pizza. I don't even gain the weight back because my metabolism has been cranked up basically by starving myself. And I think this is going to lead to a longer life. And anybody who tries this routine, they're not only going to lose weight, but they're actually going to feel really good as well.
Yeah. Well, thanks for sharing your insights on intermittent fasting.
Okay. Thanks a lot, Scott.